That's why you're not supposed to mortgage your future. That's exactly why. If you have a plan in place, see the plan through first. Don't abort mission just yet. See the plan through first. Because it's probably going to benefit you more if you do that than trying to do a quick fix. What's up, YouTube? Your boy back once again with another sports topic. And today we're going to talk some basketball. Orlando Magic basketball. You already know what it is. And we're here to talk about how the Orlando Magic are actually possibly looking very genius when it comes to the way they handle in the offseason. I think they're handling offseason in a very genius way. We're going to talk about, we're going to break it down. Before we do that, like I've been telling you before, if you're liking the content, make sure you liking the channel. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you comment on all the videos and you sharing all the videos on all social media platforms. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, any type of social media platform you use. Make sure you share on all those same social media platforms. Also, follow me on social media as well. My links in the description below. Follow me on all social media. Also, the link in the description below to get 30 days free Amazon Prime. We giving away 30 days free Amazon Prime. If you sign up to Amazon Prime, you get 30 days free. So if you don't have Amazon Prime, what is you waiting on? Get your free 30 days. The link is in the description below. Hit that link. Get your free 30 days of Amazon Prime. Also, they're giving away other stuff on Amazon as well. Other links to other purchases and things like that. Hit those links as well. Also, like I say, follow me on social media. All those links in the description below. Like I say, like the channel, subscribe to the channel. Let's get this channel growing and growing and growing. Now, let's talk about it. Because the Orlando Magic have not been busy during the offseason, but they've done enough. They re-signed Mo Bamba after there was talks. They didn't do the qualifying thing, but then they're giving him 2 years, $21 million, if I'm not mistaken. Then they re-signed Gary Harris. I'm thinking it's another 2 year deal, but I'm not for sure exactly. And then also re-signing Bobo to another 2 year deal, but I don't know the exact money when it comes to Bobo's contract. And it seems like that's pretty much it, what they have done for the offseason so far. And to be honest, I think it's very genius. I think it's probably the smartest thing outside of the draft capital that they've done so far. It's the smartest thing they're doing because you don't want to be the Brooklyn Nets. Let's the whole elephant in the room. You don't want to be the Brooklyn Nets. The Magic have a lot of cap space, and they want to have flexible. They want to have flexible. I forgot what the word is. Flexible contracts. They want to have flexible cap space. They want to be able to have the actual ability to do things in the near future and the distant future as well. And you don't want to just absorb the cap space and get rid of it just by trying to sign some superstars. I know we've seen Paolo send out the Instagram tweet with the Instagram story of him and Kevin Durant. Like the moxie that Paolo has, the courage and the nerve to go out there, put himself on the forefront, and be like, "Hey, bring in KD with me. We gonna ball, whatever." I like that about him. Don't get me wrong. I actually like that. I like the whole recruiting aspect. That's something that this Magic franchise needs. They're up here talking about on ESPN and things like that. That's things that the Magic have not had since Dwight Howard's been gone, and you can actually make a case really since Tracy McGrady. But I'll give you if you want to say Dwight, but you can actually make a case that you really haven't had this type of power since T Mac. And that's something that the franchise needs, and that's one of the reasons, part of the reason why you draft a player like Paolo. But I don't want no parts of KD. I don't want to be the Brooklyn Nets because remember the Brooklyn Nets a couple years ago with D'Angelo Russell had a nice little young team. They made the playoffs for the first time in a while. They what they do? They made the playoffs for the first time in a while. They beat Milwaukee the first game. They didn't win the series. Milwaukee ended up winning the series, but they ended up winning the first game in the series. But they could have had a potential run. And what they do? They punted on it because they heard the rumblings of Kevin Durant and Kyrie. They want to keep the cap space. They want to have the cap space to go out there and get a Kevin Durant and to go get a Kyrie Irving. So they let D'Lo walk. And they go out there, like I said, they signed Kevin Durant, they signed Kyrie, and then they gave up and lost all their draft assets to the Celtics in the whole Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce trade a decade ago. So what did they do? When they finally got their draft capital back, they sent it to Houston to go get James Harden. And now in less than a year's time, James Harden's gone, and now Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are asking for trades. they just completely torpedo everything, and they don't even have they draft capital. They draft capital goes to Houston. Houston, the Rockets own 3 of their draft picks and also have 3 year of draft swaps as well. So they don't control their draft for the next 5 to 6 years because the Houston Rockets have control of their draft. Now, also you look at an example like the Lakers a couple years ago. The same thing. They had a young team. They signed LeBron. LeBron wants to make a move for AD, so they punt all their young talent to New Orleans to go get AD. Now it did result in the championship, if you want to call it that, with the whole bubble. If you want to give credit to that, whatever. But at least they did win something, unlike Brooklyn. But now they're in the same situation as well. And the last 2 years, how bad the last 2 years were for the Los Angeles Lakers, because they got rid of their young talent. That's something that the Magic are not doing. And the Magic are actually, to me, I think they're operating similar to how they operated back in the 90s. You know, when you drafted Shaq, when you drafted 3D, when you drafted Nick Anderson, when you traded for Penny and things like that. And then you go out there, obviously you go out there and you get Horace Grant and you make the NBA Finals. Now, you weren't able to keep Shaq because he became a free agent in 4 years. And that's part of the reason why I think that these moves here are very, very genius, because we heard people talking about, hey, they can go out there and they can give a max deal to Zach LaVine. And it would have been cool to have a player like Zach LaVine. I'm not gonna lie, but I much prefer and rather what they're doing right here. Because when you look at see what the Grizzlies are doing, when you look and see what New Orleans just did with Zion, when you see what Phoenix just did with Devin Booker, when you see what Minnesota just did with Cat, giving out these rookie max contract, especially when you look at, I want to look at both Memphis and New Orleans, because both of those super max that they gave to Zion and what they gave to Ja Morant, these guys got extensions 3 years after they draft. Okay, who's coming up on the 3 years? Cole. This next year is about to be Cole's 3rd year, so Cole will be eligible to get extension after this season. Now, obviously, I don't think Cole is getting a max or a super max or anything like that, but you want to make sure that I think Cole's somebody you definitely want to re-sign. I think that you definitely somebody that you want to re-sign. Then in the year after that, you're going to be signing. You got France and you got Jalen Suggs again, and then year after that, in 3 years, Paolo will be able to be in their market. You want to be able to give Paolo $230 million. I think that's what Zion got with all of his incentives. His max 5 years, $231 million. That's what you want to be able to give Paolo. The organization wants to give Paolo that type of contract, because that means one or two things: either he's one of the best players in the NBA, or he's on the version you don't want to lose. You don't want to alienate him. You don't want to piss him off. You want to retain him. Either way it go, that means that you hit on that #1 overall pick. If he's one of the best players in the league, like Ja Morant is, you lead the team like Ja Morant or Trae Young. You the second, and Ja Morant's case, they the second case, the second best team, second best record in the West. And then Trae Young's situation, able to get to a conference finals within a 3-year window, exactly. Or Zion, even though Zion hasn't been playing that much, but when Zion plays, he looks dominant, and he's a superstar type of player, all-star type of player. You don't want to lose that type of person. So either way it go, that's the type of money that you want to be giving the Paolo. And obviously you don't want the injuries. You want it to be the Ja Morant, Trae Young situation, where you either in the playoffs and you're the second seed, or you made it to the conference finals and things of that nature. So you want to be able to give Paolo that type of contract. So you want that flexible cap space. You want that flexibility to be able to do that. So you don't want to top no money in the Zach LaVine, or you want to top no money in bad contracts, guys that you gotta get out of salary dumps. You gotta do things a year later. No, you have a young core of guys. You have a young core of guys that I know we just re-signed Gary Harris, and I know technically Terrence Ross is still on this team. I don't know how much longer Terrence Ross is going to be on this team. I don't think he's going to be on this team past the trade deadline. I like T. Ross. I don't know if he's going to be on this team past the trade deadline, but we're going to take away both Gary Harris and T. Ross, and we're gonna move them aside for this conversation, because from the young core that you're counting on, Your oldest guy is Markelle Fultz and Jonathan Isaac at the age of 24. Jonathan Isaac and Markelle Fultz are both 24. Wendell is 23. I think Mo Bamba's 22. Same thing with Cole Anthony. He's 22. Jalen Suggs is 21. Franz Wagner's 20. You just drafted Paolo. He's only 19. If I'm not mistaken, I think RJ Hampton's 21, and I think Chuma's 22. He's either 22 or 23. I can't remember exactly what Chuma is. So the majority of the guys that you're building around, the majority of the guys who are the main focal points of your team, it is not just one or two. All of them, outside of Terrence Ross and Gary Harris, be like I said, they to the side, are 24 and younger. They're not even 25 yet. So when you got a player like Kevin Durant who's 34, Markelle is 24. He's 10 years younger than Kevin Durant is. So I'm just putting it into perspective that you have a real legitimate shot of having a decade long team as far as be able to be a very good team. If obviously all these guys have to hit marks and be very good players to all-star caliber players and things like that. But you could be on a run like Golden State. You can be on a legitimate run like Golden State. I'm not even talking about the championship side. I'm just talking about being a very good basketball team, being deep into the playoffs for a long time because of all the young talent that you have. No, eventually, Mouse, you got to start feeding everybody. Mouse, you got to start feeding. People going to start wanting bigger contracts, things like that. I understand that. But, like I said, to people like Cole and people like Paulo, obviously that's the guy you want to pay. And you could probably see Suggs and Franz getting paid as well. Other guys ain't going to be really, I really don't foresee other guys getting max. I see Paulo able to get a max. He hasn't played down basketball yet, but because he's number one overall pick, he's going to be the guy who you lean to, and he's actually showing you leadership with that KD post. Because what that tells me is that he's a guy who's not going to shy. He's not going to shy away from the fire. He's a guy who, when it's a big moment, big time games, he's going to step up. Big players make big plays and big moments. That's the type of person Paulo is. He's going to take the game, win the shot. He's not going to shy away from that. He's not going to Ben Simmons it and have able to drive and then just get rid of the ball because he shies away from big moments. I don't foresee that in Paulo. Just off of that post alone, that's what that shows me. I could be wrong, but that's what that shows me. So when you have a player like that with that type of mentality, you got young players around him. You kind of want the whole magic of the early 90 type days when you have all these young guys. Now, you didn't pay Shaq, and that's the reason why Shaq ended up leaving, because at first they did offer him a deal, but it wasn't a super max, and the whole thing with Alonzo Mourning, him seeing Alonzo Mourning getting $100 million, and then the whole thing that he felt disrespected and all that type of stuff because the Magic didn't want to. That's a conversation for another day. But you don't want to make those mistakes. Also, same thing in OKC. You don't want to. Was it with $3 million? Not $3 million a year. I think it was $3 million, period. The reason why, the difference between them retaining James Harden and them trading James Harden to Houston. And obviously that's what broke up the team. You trade James Harden to Houston, and then it just wars welcome between KD and Westbrook. You let Reggie Jackson go. You trade Serge Ibaka. All those other things that transpired throughout the whole Oklahoma City tenure. So because of that, you let the team go. Don't make those same mistakes in Orlando. And I think they're not. And I think this right here is showing you that they're not going to do that. They're going to keep their cap space to themselves, and they're going to promote from within. They're going to pay within. That's what they're going to give the max deals in the big money to the Cole Anthonys, to the RJ, to the Cole Anthonys, to the Markelle Fultz, to the Wendell Carters, to the Mo Bambas, to the Chuma Kikis, to the Jalen Suggs, to the Franz Wagner's and obviously Paulo. Not saying all those guys are getting max. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is they're going to pay those guys instead of going out there and throwing a whole big bag throwing a whole big bag at Zach LaVine, or throwing a whole big bag at this guy, or trying to make a trade to get this kid over here. Like, maybe eventually you might have to. Like eventually, if you start hitting your head on the glass, if you start hitting your head on the glass ceiling and you're not going nowhere, then you eventually do have to. Okay, we do need to start making some moves here. We do need to start doing some stuff there, and you cross that bridge when you get to it. But you're not at that point. You're nowhere near that point because as of right now, the Magic goal is not to win a championship this year. Obviously, you want to win a championship. Yeah, if you can win a championship, you definitely do it. But the goal is to develop their players and to evaluate exactly what parts. Well, I do think this team is talented enough to make the play-in. I'm not saying they're going to win the play-in and get into the playoffs and things like that and going to win the playoff series. I'm not saying that they're at that level yet because these guys have yet to play together yet as far as getting Paolo, even though we've seen Paolo out working with Cole Anthony, and we see how close knit these. That's nothing too. How close knit these guys are. It seems like all these guys are genuinely friends for the most part. The only player that I see that's probably the odd man out of this whole situation really is Jonathan Isaac. Because even when Markelle came back, it seemed like Markelle's cool with everybody. It seems like Markelle is in with everybody. It seems like Paolo's just not getting to the organization. Paolo was in with everybody. Paolo was starting to follow Cole Anthony, I think RJ, and Jalen Suggs before he even got drafted, even though he said he didn't know he was going to the Magic. It was a surprise. He started following a lot of Magic players before and wasn't following any Rockets players, but he was following a lot of Magic players. But that's a conversation for another day as well. But you see these guys are hanging out. You see Cole last year at the draft. He made a point to be at the draft, and he was excited when they drafted Jalen Suggs. He was excited when they drafted Franz Wagner. He made himself known like, hey, I'm your teammate. They draft Paolo. He go to New York with Paolo and train and work out with Paolo. Cole is putting himself in there that, hey, I'm a part of this. You my teammate. We gonna ride together. I like that. I like that close knit. You don't gotta mess that up by doing all these by bringing in these other guys. You ain't gotta do that. You don't. You have exactly what you need. You have talent. You really do. You got good defenders in Markelle Fultz. You got good defenders in Jalen Suggs. You got good defenders in RJ and Chuma. Now, both Paolo and Cole leave a lot to be desired on the defensive side, but offensively, they guys who can play. Same thing with Franz. Franz is very skilled offensively. Same thing with Wendell. Wendell can clean up down low. So these guys, I think these guys can complement each other. Just get them on the court, let them play fully. I think these guys can complement each other very well, very, very well. And because of that, and it seems like I said, they're very close knit. They cool with each other on and off the court. And they all seem like it seems like a brotherhood. It seems like a family type situation. The wins are going to come, and because of that, when that does happen, when the wins start coming, and the all stars start coming, and the all pros, I mean that's football, but all stars and all NBAs and things like that start coming to play, the money's going to come into play with, and they want to have the flexible cap space to be able to do that within, instead of throwing bad money at bad contracts that you eventually have to unload, that you eventually have to salary them. I know people talking about maybe the Magic take on some salary them to get some expiring contracts. They don't need to do that. They don't. They don't need to go out there and chase bad money. They absolutely don't. They're in a situation where they got enough cap space. They got a lot of young guys. Hey, we'll just reward from within. We'll pay those guys. And like I said, you gave Markelle's got an extension already. Wendell's got an extension already. Jonathan Isaac has got an extension already. Like I said, Jonathan Isaac is the one guy in this whole scenario, like I said, who doesn't seem like he's involved and close knit with the rest of the team. Doesn't really seem like doesn't really talk about basketball a lot. And then even when he's at the basketball games, he doesn't look like he interacts a lot with other guys like the way Markelle did. When Markelle was hurt and was at the games, seems a little bit different. And it's weird because Jonathan Isaac was drafted by the Magic and Markelle was traded to the Magic. But it seems like Markelle is a little bit more involved, a little bit more embracive when it comes. Well, not he is more involved and more embracive with the rest of the team, unlike Jonathan Isaac. And it's not Jonathan Isaac bad situation. I like Jonathan Isaac's talent, especially defensively. Don't as of right now, don't know where Jonathan Isaac can or how he can play, where his minutes gonna come. He's gonna have to come in and earn those minutes because um you starting Paulo, and I can't wait till the summer league. Summer league starts this week on the 7th against the Houston Rockets. Can't wait. I'm glad to see that RJ's in there because I want to see some more RJ because I think RJ has a role on this team. Um, as the backup two guard. I believe that RJ has a role on this team as the backup two guard because I think there's going to be Markelle and Suggs at the 1 to 2. However you want to make it, those are going to be your starting two guards, and I think that Cole and RJ are the two guards off the bench. And it may be in some situations and in some games that you might have to start RJ as the number as a two card because of certain situations. I think eventually, I'm not saying that's now. I think eventually, but RJ needs to get some minutes. He needs to play, and RJ didn't get a chance to play in the summer league his rookie year because there was no summer league in 2020 because of the whole COVID situation. So him and Cole didn't get a chance to play summer league, and also RJ was in Denver at that time as well. So I can't wait to see exactly how that goes about. But I'm glad and I'm happy with what the Magic are doing. I think it's genius because they're going to be able to promote and pay from within. They don't have to throw out bad money and bad contracts. They don't have to do the same mistakes that the Brooklyn Nets made and what the Lakers made, even though the Lakers did end up getting the championship. And also what OKC did a decade ago and what they did 3 decades ago. They don't have to make those same mistakes. Keep the cap space. Pay your young talent. Don't trade away your young talent to get out there and get these superstars who leave in 2 years anyway. Like, share, subscribe if you haven't. Comment below if you haven't. Click that bell, get more videos. I holla.